Hello ladies and gentlemen and those in between, welcome back to my channel, Everett here, and today we're going to talk about Sakristan. Before I started watching the series, I had heard controversies about its director Daryl Yap being accused of exploiting children sexually, romanticizing misconception about rape, and even throwing shade at other Filipino BL series. And as a matter of fact, netizens wanted this series to be cancelled because first they think that this series would be disrespectful to the church, and secondly the series would go against the lesson of the Catholic Church. And if you guys haven't known this yet, the Philippines is a Christian nation, so generally speaking there are still conservative and religious people who are not willing to accept this genre, and I'm talking about boys love or BL, especially those BL series whose storylines are opposed to the Catholic teachings. And to make matters worse, Daryl Yap, the director of the series, was severely bashed before the release of Sakristan because of the title and the posters. However, despite all of these petitions to cancel the series and all of these negative comments even before the series was released, Sakristan became the first Filipino BL series to trend on YouTube. And actually, Sakristan is the very first Filipino BL series aired on YouTube along with Game Boys right after the phenomenal success of Together the series, which is a Thai series, and it concluded with a total of 8 episodes. Personally, I respect those people who disapproved of the series, and I understand where they're coming from, but I honestly felt awful for these actors and the people behind the cameras because obviously they gave their best to make the series happen. So I gave this series a shot because, first of all, whatever the director's issues were totally none of my business. And secondly, there was something about this series that I got instantly drawn to it. The artistry of the trailer is enticing, and it was intriguing. So you guys can't blame me for watching the series, and to be honest, I don't regret watching the series at all. Why? That's because this series has a heart and soul. I admire the efforts of the production team to confront the issues with the Philippine Catholic churches, such as bigotry and their hypocritical take on LGBTQ matters. Although I must say that it didn't really tackle the most sensitive issues about what's really happening inside the church. I was actually expecting for something more intense, like priests being accused of molesting acolytes. But thank goodness there's not such scene in this series. But anyway, I must say that this series is depth, and the lines, goodness gracious, they pierce through your heart. Like in every episode, there's at least one single line thrown by the characters in the series which you can completely relate to. Although I must admit that there were some scenes where certain characters would sound like they were preaching while they were giving a piece of advice. Like, are you kidding me? You don't have to preach like a priest when you give me a piece of advice. Duh! But on a serious note, I still dare you try watching the series and you'll see what I mean. And if you're not satisfied with the first few episodes, you can always have the choice to quit watching it. So, what is Sakristan? The word Sakristan is roughly translated as acolyte in English. This means someone who assists the celebrant in a religious service or procession. Generally speaking, acolytes assist priests in Catholic churches, particularly in the Philippines, and some of them aspire to become priests down the road. Sakristan is a story of a Christian who gives up being an acolyte for the sake of his relationship with Zach, who is an orphan and has an athletic scholarship, which makes him go on studying. Eventually, just like any other relationships that don't survive tests and trials, Christian decides to go back to being an acolyte, but because of the overwhelming love for Christian, Zach decides to follow Christian by becoming an acolyte too in the end. Sakristan is a story of two men coming to terms and finding love despite being church servants. And this series shows the struggles of church servants being in love with someone of the same sex, and it also shows that love comes in many forms, in many faces, in whatever situation they're in. Let's talk about the two main characters, Christian and Zach. Christian is played by Henry Villanueva, and in this series he is an acolyte who is assigned to help Zach study in order to pass an exam. And Zach is played by Clifford Pussing, and in the series, Zach is an orphan who is an athletic scholar. He's caught cheating in an exam and he's forced to do community service, and that is how Christian and Zach meet each other. Well, just like any other BL series with predictable storylines, Christian and Zach have a cat and dog relationship where they hate each other at first. and they get to know each other just a little bit. And what? They fall in love with each other? What do you expect? This is a real series, not a horror film. But seriously speaking, I'm not really a big fan of Henry Villanueva. Maybe because I feel that he could have done better in terms of acting. I mean, he could have given a better performance. On the other hand, I love Clifford Pressing a lot. He has what it takes to make it in the entertainment industry because, first of all, he is good looking. He is absolutely cute. And I must admit, I was able to finish watching the series because of him. Secondly, he's in good shape. In fact, Clifford is a triathlon athlete in real life. And thirdly, his acting skills are not bad enough. And with a little bit of acting workshop, he'll be all set for stardom. Honestly speaking, I am not 100% satisfied with the chemistry between Christian and Zach. I'm not saying that I don't feel or see any spark between the two of them, but what I mean by that is that I feel that the way their love story goes from being enemies to friends and to lovers very quickly. Well, most BL series are just like that, but in their case, it's very fast. I mean, the scriptwriter could have focused more on how the two main characters fall in love with each other. Because of the viewers meticulous and pays a lot of attention to details, they will go, what? They fall in love with each other that quickly just after a one heart-to-heart conversation? Seriously? How did that happen? Well, unless they have a secret crush on each other before becoming friends from being enemies, then I guess this is possible. But I would love to have seen more of how they actually fall in love with each other, how the relationship actually blossoms, and I guess this is what is missing in their chemistry. And I feel that Henry and Clifford fell victims to the lack of proper acting direction. That is why they were not able to execute their lines very well. But I must say the acting performance of both of the lead actors and the chemistry between them improved throughout the series. Let's talk about the supporting characters. I personally love Wolf, who is played by Xavier Reyes. And in this series, he is Christian's childhood friend, and he is against Christian being in a romantic relationship with Zach, calling Christian mean names like faggot and many others. Faggot! Ah! But in truth, he is secretly in love with Christian. And to be honest, Henry and Xavier have a natural chemistry. I mean, both of them are not the typical super duper good looking BL characters that we usually see. And that is what makes them relatable, not intimidating at all. And I'm sure that some of you guys have already seen the series, have also seen yourselves in any one of these characters. I love that moment where Christian and Wolf have a heart-to-heart conversation that highlights their natural chemistry, and clearly there's this special spark between the two of them. And I also love the lollipop girls. I love how they bring the mood up in the series. They spice the storyline up, and there's such a comical relief. And my favorite scene is one where they're looking things up on the internet to get Christian ready for his first night with Zach. Beefcake Hunter. Don't you guys deny it, because I'm sure you've also seen Beefcake Hunter videos. And Penelope is also good at acting, but my only problem with her is at times she's exaggerated when the scenes don't actually really require her to. This series also tackles the struggles of church servants falling in love with someone of the same sex, and people are quick to judge him. The problem with most of us is that we have the tendency to put priests, nuns, monks, or any church servants on a pedestal, and we think that they are perfect. We think that they can't make any mistakes at all. But in truth, just like anyone else, they're also human beings. They're also 100% capable of making the same mistakes as ordinary people can make. The only difference is they struggle hard to put their religious beliefs into practice. Well, maybe not every one of them, but I'm sure that most of them do. We are all responsible for the mistakes we make, and we are certainly not in a position to criticize them. And if you truly believe that the Supreme Intelligence exists, then let them judge them. We need to be more open-minded. They're also human beings with hands, fingers, and feelings, and there's no question about it. And just like us, they can also be vulnerable. Therefore, let's not look up to them as though they were angels with wings or perfect creatures who can't do anything wrong. No doubt, the playlist in the series has captivated the soft side of viewers, and one of my favorite songs in the series is Tala, which is roughly translated as star in English. This is originally sung by the Philippines pop star royalty, Sarah Geronimo.
Siguro nga masyadong mabilis ang pagyanig ng puso ko para sa puso mo. Siguro nga ako ay makulit, ayaw makinig sa takbo ng isip. Di ko maipilit, tila ko'y nakalutang na sa langit, ngunit nalunod sa iyong mga ngiti. At kung hanggang dito lang talaga tayo, hindi pababayaan ang daang tinahak ng kapiling ka. At kung umabot tayo hanggang dulo, kapit lang na mahigpit.
I personally think that the best thing about this series is the unpredictable twist of the storyline in the later episodes of the series, and most of all, this series shows clearly that love is love regardless of religious beliefs and gender. Everyone is capable of falling in love, but in the case of people who have to abide by religious beliefs, sometimes being in love, especially in the kind of love that's perceived as something that goes against what is perceived as normal, it is certainly not easy. There are a lot of things to be considered and questions to be asked. Just like, am I willing to give everything up for the sake of the one that I love? Am I ready to accept what other people will say? Or should I give up in order to avoid getting hurt? As the famous quote goes, it is better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And to my mind, this is the biggest lesson that we can learn from this series. Anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if you like this video, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when my next video comes out. Peace outie! And if you guys haven't known this yet, the Philippines is a Christian nation, so generally speaking, there are still conservative and religious people who are not accepting this genre. We're not accepting this genre. We're not accepting. And I feel that Henry and Clifford. And I feel that Henry and Clifford feel